Okay, we are live. So I'm going to share my screen with you.
Okay.
Do you see the chart?
I do. I see
All right.
charts.
So we have Audrey. When's your birthday?
June 7th, 1986,
Time?
7:20 a.m.
And where?
Amarillo, Texas, in the United States.
Great. 26 degrees Gemini rising.
That's right.
Very good. Okay, so I start with the same question always, which is like, what's going on in your life currently?
So, yeah, when we were just chatting a little bit, I opened up. I am in a hotel room. I'm currently kind of on the road. I'm on an away job in upstate New York. I'm working on a TV show, and my life has changed quite a lot since eclipse season, which is maybe to be expected. But uh, I have worked in the film industry for a while, but I took a bit of a break for different reasons. When the strikes happened, and I actually incorporated astrology into my career, but now I'm back in New York after being away in Texas, where I'm from. I was there for family reasons and some other reasons. So I just came back like a little over a month ago. And there's been like just a general shuffling in my life on many levels since taking this job and a little bit before. So yeah, on like the relationship front and just on anyway. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just yeah.
Okay, so what do you do what is your kind of position in the film industry?
So I've had a couple of different jobs. I mean, I've primarily worked in locations. I've worked as a location scout and manager. And yeah, and
That's
I've also produced. So I've produced things that have gone to top tier festivals, and I've production managed. But on like the big studio level, like I do locations, and I've done that for a very long time. And a million years ago, when I was young, I wasn't an actor. But I've also I've written and directed smaller things, and I've directed a lot of music videos and stuff. So it's like very Geminian. I've done a lot of different things within the industry. My ultimate goal prior to incorporating astrology into my career, the past couple of years, my ultimate goal was to like write and show run my own TV shows and like write and direct on the studio level. But anyway, that's kind of what I do and where I'm at.
okay. But you said if you're doing locations, so then what are you doing in New York now, right? Because the location seems to have been found, or so.
Oh yeah, no. So I've worked a lot, and so I primarily lived and worked in New York City for a very long time. And then starting in like 2019, 2020, I started working in upstate New York in what's called the Hudson Valley along the Hudson. It's beautiful. And just because I'm a very spiritual person and I love being in nature, so I started prioritizing taking work in like more remote areas. Kind of that really started with maybe the Uranus and Taurus transit for me. I've worked all over the country, but I've worked a lot in upstate New York, and I'm back working with the same manager that I've done a ton of projects with. And this is I don't know what all I can say publicly, but it is a Netflix show. It's an adaptation. It's an adaptation of a best-selling book. It's a limited series. It's really good, very well written. It's a drama. And I am location scouting and assistant location managing as well. So a lot of people don't really know how involved that is or how hard it is. It's funny because like the location scouting part, everyone's like, oh, that's like a dream job. And it is, like, on some level, you're like professionally exploring and you get to just like go to all these different places. And I have a camera and I have a camera kit and lens kit and I take photos. And like right now I'm working this weekend because we're in crunch time and the studio needed extra photography. Like, we need extra photography from me to like present and do renderings to get studio approval and to push creative decisions through. So I think a lot of people don't realize how much locations people can be involved in the storytelling creative process. And I've done a lot of period. This is another, I don't want to say too much, but I've done a lot of stuff that takes place in the past, and it's like historical or like dated stuff, which adds another layer of a challenge of finding locations that are, not modern, not present day. And so, but I also manage. And so the scouting is like more creative, kind of like you're reading the scripts, you're breaking it down, you're doing the creative work. And then the management part is like logistics and making sure that you can park 20 trucks and trailers and like 100 crew and like where are bathrooms going and like,
Okay.
so yeah. So I do, and this is why people who do location management on the studio level, like with these bigger companies, they do often go on to be producers and line producers, because you have like giant budgets and a bunch of logistics, and it's actually it can be quite of a nightmare sometimes. We deal with stunts. I do a lot of stuff with, we deal with permits or like setting stuff on fire or car crashes or explosions or people jumping off of buildings, stuff like that. So you're also part of the crew that you have to get certain training, and you have to make sure your crew stays safe as well, because you play a role in like the logistics and the safety as well. So yeah, that's kind of just like a little bit of a.
There's so much going on already for me in your chart. I'm going to try to. The other thing is, like, when I meet new people, obviously I don't know anything about your work. So you're using a lot of language that's unfamiliar to me. So it's just going to take me a little time, but.
Sorry.
No, this is perfect. Okay. So let's get started.
Yeah.
All right. For me, the first thing that I'm hearing from you is actually your new moon in Gemini in the 12th, squaring Jupiter in Pisces in the 10th. Mm-hmm. So especially that you have the new moon in the 12th makes me think about the location scouting, because you're going to places, you don't know where you're going, but it's always somewhere different. You have ideas and you're visiting. That's kind of, that's what you've been doing for years, you said. That makes me think about the new moon as well, from the perspective of, that's the new place that you're choosing. Square with Jupiter.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, sorry to interject, but it's strange being the person who like determines where 100 people are going to land, kind of a thing sometimes, Like, I joke that we're like the pirates of the industry.
Okay, that makes me think about Jupiter and Pisces in your 10th. Yeah, the pirates, like navigating the ship and like offloading all of these fish into this new place.
I never thought about it like that. I love it.
Okay. The other part for me is like, so it's a little bit distant, but I feel the new moon that is opposing your Saturn in the 6th in Sag. Because finding a location is not easy, and also because you said that oftentimes you're looking for historical places, and that's kind of difficult. And so even though you don't see the opposition, I feel it. I feel how you're scouting for something that is like ancient, and so you have to go to lots of different places to find something that works. Is that right?
Yeah, and there is like a echo of the past and like historical, like there is something sort of Saturnian. And it's hard work. I would just say, like, it's kind of known in our industry sometimes that it's like one of the hardest, most thankless jobs. So like we get like the least credit and shout out, and like it's grueling. It's like I've had like like Emmy winning producers tell me like I would never want to have your job. It's so hard. And so that's that Saturnian thing, I think sometimes. Like it's
Mhm.
insane hours, insane stress.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so that of course makes me think about Saturn in the sixth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's like insane hours, insane stress. I guess you have to stick to a very regimented schedule. You have to be exactly where you're expected to be. And also like just like searching for an appropriate place makes me think about Saturn and Sag. Right? You're traveling
Yeah,
throughout the year. It's like,
yeah. I think about
where's the
that.
right freaking place for this?
Welcome to my life.
Right? The other thing for me is like because you said that you need to get permits and stuff because you do lots of dangerous acts like the explosions and the so that all I felt in Sagittarius again, maybe this time in the Uranus especially, that you work with all of these kind of exciting effects.
Yes, the adventure. Yeah, yeah. I yeah, and that Uranus like opposing my stuff as well. Yeah, it is. It's a very exciting. One of the first movies I did 15 years ago, this producer said, "Making movies, it's not always fun, but it's never boring." And I just have so many stories. One of the first things I managed, I became a manager very early on, and I could be probably even more because I've always balanced writing. I write a lot of scripts and I'm pitching stuff and I do fellowships and residencies and stuff. So because I've been balancing a dual career and always, and now I'm balancing astrology with film, I've turned down opportunities to be like a manager in the Directors Guild and stuff. But I became a manager like really early on, like very, very quickly, abnormally quickly, and was handed a lot of responsibility that I was technically underqualified for. And my first job at like 25, I was 26 or something. I was like, there was like our first day on the first job was a car crash. And I was, I don't know how we did it and how we stayed safe, but we did. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely an element of danger to a lot of the stuff that I've even down to me going, I'm often scouting in kind of like remote places without a signal or like in nature. And sometimes it's just like me and um like a like
Mm.
like a lot of times it's like me and some guy, like some park guy or some like random guy that I'm meeting in a private lakes community or something. Like it's weird as a woman to have this, you know what I mean? Like there's different layers to it, but there's definitely moments where I'm like, yeah, it's a little, yeah, it's technically it's not your average, like, or like going around, like back when I was in the city, like going to like industrial wastelands, like working on crime shows and being like, okay, where would we dump a body? Like, where would you dump a gun? Like, like, um, like, like, okay, where can we set some shit on fire? So, like it's weird. It's
Okay,
weird
that
work.
tells me that you're also looking for places that are kind of discreet, like away from the city, away from people. Yeah,
Hmm.
places that are anonymous, like outside.
Yeah, that's been a lot of. Hmm. And I've primarily worked outside of New York City since, like I said, 2020, really, since like 2020. But even
Mhm.
when I started to leave and work outside of the city more in like 2018, 2019.
Okay,
But
so
then,
there I feel that very much in the 12th. But
yeah,
I'm also feeling like earlier when you had talked about working along the Hudson, there I felt the Jupiter and Pisces in your 10th. Like your work is also in a very beautiful natural place that is by this giant river.
yes,
I guess you guys would
yeah.
go and have picnics there or just chat and hang out.
If we had time, no, no, I do. It's, no. I do try to make time. And the thing is, when I'm not on a project, I'm just completely like immersed in like my spiritual world and my spiritual practice and things I do there. So, and like we had these crazy strikes in 2023, which is interesting because it pretty much coincides with Saturn
Right,
entered Pisces, going over my 10th house.
right.
Um, and so the industry went down, and we've already had some hiccups with COVID and whatnot. And the industry went down, and the show I was on went down, and I drove across the country alone, and which I had done before, and like I was just like hiking in the desert and like going on these like spiritual vision quest things like alone, and it was just so amazing. Yeah, so I do take the time when I'm not on a job, like to really root into the natural surroundings. I'm an avid hiker and stuff, and photographer in nature.
Okay, this makes me think about your okay, one part of this is the Venus-Mars opposition.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that with you loving to be in nature and being out and frequently needing to be around water, I guess, trees. But there's something else that you had said earlier that for me was like, I really felt this opposition. It was about moving supplies. And you had said something about how do you park 100 trucks in whatever. I didn't really.
Yeah. So like the logistics of, so a lot of people who don't, work in the film and TV industry don't think about what's not on camera. So like what you see on camera is the actors and a designed set. And beyond that, there's like hundreds of people sometimes, especially if you're on like a big Marvel movie, and there's trucks and there's trailers and there's tents and there's base camp and there's crew parking and location management. Location managers and assistant location managers and location assistants are the people that figure out where everything goes.
Okay, so you're kind of like temporary architects.
Yeah, and you actually have to have a working knowledge of architecture and design to do this. Side note, because I'll have to, we're looking for this brutalist building, we need a mid-century, we need a colonial, we need etc. Yeah, you have to have a really strong understanding of real estate and architecture.
Oh, okay, that makes me think about Venus in Cancer in your second house.
Mm-hmm.
That
there's a major major overlap with real estate. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, this makes me think also about like natural resources. Like water, for example, the toilets.
Oh yeah, that's the unfortunate side of locations too. We have to figure out where the bathroom trailers are going and wherever, and where everyone eats. Like that's sort of Cancerian too. Yeah, like, where is catering and where are we going to put this tent? It's almost like you're putting on a wedding for 100 to. So some days when we have background and or a bunch of stunts or stuff, we have like 200 to 300 people there. Most days it's about 80 to 100. But it's kind of like, where are we going to feed this 100 people and this 100 people? Where are we going to put you? Where are we going to feed you?
Okay.
Like an army.
Yeah, and I also see that makes you kind of like a hotel manager in a way.
Yeah.
Because where does how do you? Well, I'm feeling the Venus in Cancer, first of all. I can say very much, right? Because for you, it's important. So where are we going to feed these people? Where are we going to house these people? Where are they going to pee? How are they going to get their what? Right? Those are the basic needs that you have to really think of. They're very important in your work. The opposition to Mars in Capricorn, the 8th for me, is that you're setting it all up. Like you're the one to organize where all the things go, and you're not organizing just your stuff, right? In this case, you're organizing where all of the collective tools are going, how to set up the whole camp, right? So that for me is like the 8th house. You're actually dictating where things are going, have nothing to do with you. You're saying where other people's things are going and how to build them and so forth, right? Also like managing a fleet of trucks that are full of assets, right? All the trailers,
Yeah, and we do work. I feel like I have to say this in case anybody from the industry watches this. Like we do work in conjunction with like transportation captains who organize their own fleet of transportation, and then we work with production management who also, they're the ones who hire the caterer. So it's just that's the really fascinating thing about film and television is it's just one of the most collaborative, you know, like it takes an army. It takes a total army of people to pull it off.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay. That makes me think a bit about your Jupiter in the 10th house, Pisces, because what I hear now, just getting a little bit more information from you, is that you're working on locations that are constantly shifting and changing, and there's a lot of movement, there's new things happening, and that it's kind of like always a mystery, and there's a lot of excitement, a lot of people, a lot of energies moving.
Yeah. It is always a mystery. And like my life is a mystery. I mean, this is beyond what I can just tell you some more things about my life that I think might help you. I mean, so everything about my life, I feel very strongly this like Geminian Sagittarian travel axis. I've always had a lot of travel in my life, even before I worked in this industry. I have two sets of parents. My mother and my father divorced when I was a baby, and they both remarried when I was a child at different ages. And so I've had two sets of families living in different places that I went between. And each of those family sets moved around a lot. And then, so I lived in a lot of places, and then also like, and so I have like a ton of family, and there's always like traveling to and from seeing different family. And then just in general, I've had like, and even like since the strikes, and I kind of started incorporating I've studied astrology since I was a teenager, and I started getting more serious about astrology and ended up taking clients and having a bit of an online presence. And this is actually all somewhat recently. But there's this like dual career. There's this like balancing of dual realities thing going on that I felt like might be interesting. But there's that Jupiterian, there's like always a bit of a mystery of like, where am I going to end up, and what am I going to be doing, and what's next? I just do not have like a predictable life in any way, basically.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that also makes me think about the new moon in the 12th house.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that every day you don't really know what's going to happen. Um, yeah, I did find that very interesting about the two families. And also that they're traveling a lot, both of them, that they moved around a lot. So there again, I feel the 12th house and the Gemini part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is your family also kind of in the industry, or maybe like high achieving in terms of work?
Yes and no. So my one set of parents, they're musicians.
Hey,
Yeah, and so they were professional musicians, and my mother is retired and disabled and can no longer gig, but she's a brilliant, like borderline like prodigy genius musician. She played uh piano and violin, but like I grew up in Texas, so it was like country and blues, so she could do like Mozart on the violin, or like Devil Went Down to Georgia, like dueling fiddles kind of a thing. And she was one of these people, she's one of these people that could like, you play a song on the radio and she'll play it, and then she can move it up a key, down a key, and like she just has one of these like. And so I grew up singing. I was a singer, and so I grew up singing blues and country, and I just grew up very spoiled with like a mother who was very like, you know, like I thought that like you know, like I'd be like, oh, I want to sing this song in this key. Oh, actually, let's do it in this key. And she would just like move things up and down and like play things by ear, and we'd be like writing music. And my stepdad is like a really brilliant guitar player, blues guitar player, and we're kind of in the Austin, Texas area. And they are very different, very eccentric. I will say they have a bit of a star quality thing going on, both of them. And then my dad and my stepmom, the other set of parents, they're in education and probably technically more traditional. However, even they themselves are very non-traditional. And my dad has a total star quality thing going on. He's a Leo, and he was a musician back in the day. And like, he's like a pretty brilliant musician. He still plays and sings from here and there. And my stepmom is kind of a brilliant math teacher. She's like a nerdy math. They're retired now, and they have a weird life. They have a llama farm in northern Texas. They retired and they have llamas and like chickens. And my dad's out like planting like 50 trees, and he built his own greenhouse from his hand, like with his hands. And so I will say that like all of them are like, oh, and this is so fascinating. I don't think you're going to see this in my chart, but I have 4 parents, and they're each one of them the 4 elements. So my stepmom is a Taurus. My mom is a Gemini, and a few days away from me. And then my stepdad is a Cancer, and then my dad is a Leo. So we literally,
interesting.
So I have all 4 of the elements represented in my 4
But they're also in order, right? Taurus, Gemini, Cancer.
Yes. Yeah, they're all in order. Weird.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
anyway,
that was a lot of very interesting information. So let's sort it.
Okay.
First of all, like, right, the Sun conjunct Moon in Gemini. So this I get the math teacher, and here I also get the musician, right? That every kind of day of your life, there's music, there's singing, there's talking, there's this I feel very strongly. But the square to Jupiter is what makes the situation, right? Because you said your mom was a borderline prodigy musician. And so you're with someone constantly who can move up and down a key, who can play something from the right. So she's extraordinarily skilled.
Mm-hmm.
So there I feel the Jupiter, Sun, Moon, Gemini. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Okay. What else had you told me? Oh yeah, it was about again the Venus-Mars opposition. Because you told me now that okay, they have a llama farm in northern Texas.
Yeah.
And Dad plants trees, Capricorn, Cancer, and built his own greenhouse, Capricorn, Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and
so
I helped work on it when Saturn was in Pisces, and when my industry was down. I went back and spent time I was helping caretake my mother, who's disabled and has multiple sclerosis and has a lot of health issues. And then I was kind of going back and forth between these 2 places in Texas a lot. And I was helping on the farm, and I was doing farm girl things with the greenhouse and the chickens and the llamas. When Saturn was over my 10th, opposing my 4th. I don't know if that's, the 4th house stuff. I thought that
which year? Which year?
So from 23, I think it was March of 23, but it really hit July for me. So July of 2023 to really recently, when Saturn, I left Texas 5
So you were
weeks
doing
ago.
the farm girl stuff until you left a month ago.
Not exactly. I was in and out of that occasionally. I wasn't living up there. I got a house in Texas, more in the Austin area, to be closer to my mom. I was really just trying to be around more for her health issues and her health needs, and like trying to be around. But I'll go back there, I guess, after I wrap this. So
to be with your mom again.
To be there as much as I can. I don't know. It's difficult. That's a whole thing.
Why? Why is it difficult?
Oh, my mother. It's something that I actually probably will end up writing a memoir book about. Actually, there's just a lot. My mother, and this is very, this could be seen, I think, as Moon in the 12th. I don't know how much I want to say publicly, but my mother is there's been a lot of mental health and a lot of health issues there, and it's just something. We are very close, but it's also like I have Chiron right on my moon too,
Oh,
so
interesting.
there's just a lot. There's a lot there. Yeah, it's difficult. So I am trying to be around, because I left the second I turned 18. I left Texas, and I wasn't around a lot. I've been gone a lot, and I'm trying to be. I've always traveled back, actually, and she's had like I don't know, 18 to 20 different surgeries. It's nuts.
Oh,
Yeah. There's
so
a
what?
whole different things, different things.
Like Botox or like injuries?
No injuries, health issues. She's multiple sclerosis. She's fallen a lot. So every time, and she's got balance issues and walking issues. And so there's been a lot of injuries. There's been a back and ankle and knee, and there's just different injuries. Lots of health issues, like an abnormal, insane amount of health issues.
Okay, this is go ahead.
That's it's just something it's something I've had to put a lot of energy towards in my
Mm,
life.
all your life.
Yeah, pretty
Interesting.
much.
In the first place, I'm feeling the Moon Uranus opposition, and I'm also feeling your chart being mutable dominant because you said that she had, and I guess the square with Jupiter, because she says she has an extraordinary amount of health issues. And I hear that, like to have 18 surgeries, that's quite a few.
It's insane. She's Pisces rising, actually, which in the traditional ruler would be Jupiter. So it's interesting. I have Jupiter in Pisces. And so she's Pisces rising, which is interesting. She's a Gemini Pisces rising.
So I guess what I'm getting is that she maybe struggled with like human interaction, but her music was the way to get in touch with her.
It's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there's a lot. I don't know. It's hard. Just I don't know what I want to say, but this is why I'll probably put it into a book. But yeah, no, there's definitely some mental health stuff there, but she's also brilliant, which is common, right? Like there's like an interesting relationship there. And she is a lovely and talented and kind-hearted person, but there's a lot of demons, as we say, and there's been a lot of stuff. So but yeah, I feel like she is very spiritual though, and she's kind of a little bit one of the only ones out of my parents that I can like really be real about my astrology, and we talk about like past lives and stuff. And she has said for years that she's like the younger soul, and I'm like her mother in this lifetime, and like maybe we were sisters in another lifetime. We have almost like a friend sister. I'm like a way older soul than she is. She's like a very childlike thing going on. Sometimes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so so that actually makes me think about the sun being conjunct your moon and
Mhm.
how that relationship to your mom takes front row. That's what I'm understanding now.
Yeah. I've like put I've s- I don't, I don't want to like say this in a resentful way, but I've put her needs ahead of mine a lot. I've put her,
Mhm.
yeah, which is not normally you would hear a mother say that about their child, not a daughter about her mother,
Well,
I
I'm
think.
feeling that with the moon, like Uranus, and maybe even like the moon Saturn opposition, and especially with the sun being conjunct the moon, right? Because the sun is like the center of your life. So that makes me think about your mom, but also the fact that you said you had, four parents. So that makes me think about, yeah, a big part of your life is also moving between the families
Hmm.
and all of them traveling a lot frequently, right? So there I feel the Uranus. That makes me feel like you didn't have too much stability, like there was just so much going on.
Yeah. I mean, so my mom did move around a lot. She actually did stop. It's interesting. She did stop moving around when I was like 10, which is also when she got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And then that's when my stepdad entered the picture. And so from that point forward, I will say there was a strange amount of stability from
Hmm.
them. Like they've been in the same house, they've been married, since I was 12. And like, so there was some level of stability there. Uh, Always coming back to that house, always coming back to, but in general, yeah, I would say that my life is far from stable and predictable.
Hmm.
Like I've got crazy stories for days from my childhood and from my life. It's just, my friends are like, your life is a movie. And I'm like, yep,
Yeah,
every day.
right. Maybe that's why I felt you have the star quality as soon as I saw you. This is making me think as well about a few things. One of them is the Venus-Mars opposition again, because it's the Cancer part that you care so much about your mom and what she's feeling and taking care of her, and there I feel the opposition from Mars. But as you don't share too much yet about exactly how that, and I won't push.
I mean, I can share more. I just don't know. I'm like,
maybe like an example of something.
oh man, it's, oh, I'm gonna cry. See, like, it's hard. It's hard to witness. I don't want her to like see this. I'll make sure. I just don't want her to see this. It's really hard to witness someone's like suffering. Like she's just a very like she's Pisces rising, right? Like she's a very, and it's funny because like I'm one of the most like, maybe this is Jupiter, like Jupiter being like the apex, like it's the receiver of my energy, but I'm like one of the most positive people ever. I've been through really, really dark things and I just funnel it into like a positive place. But she is not capable of that. She doesn't have that. And there's addiction issues, there's mental health issues, there's pretty severe mental health issues. And I I could tell insane stories. And again, I think I'm going to have to just save that for, I feel like when she does eventually one day pass on, then I feel like I'll be able to write. I don't know. People think I should write it before then. I don't know. I will write a memoir about it because it's nuts. It's just crazy stuff. And people have been like, you should write something. But even like beyond her stuff and her hangups and her world, which has been really difficult to deal with and witness since I was a little girl. It's like we have been through crazy things. Like it was kind of a single mom and me, and we didn't have a lot of money, and we were like in this like crazy car flood when I was like, we watched our car float away. We like escaped, and like there was just always like, I've been in like tornadoes and like hailstorms, and so there's just like, again, the water energy, but there's just like this and growing up in Texas is like the backdrop of tornadoes and stuff. Like there's this backbone of like storminess and like sorrow a little bit in my life, especially early on. I feel like Saturnian wise, like Saturn wise, my life has just gotten better and sweeter as I've gotten older, and I've learned how to put myself first more. Uh in life, that's been like, oh, okay, put myself first, and there's been like things, coming in, blessings coming in. But yeah, so I don't know if I'm being like still vague about it, but there's just been a lot that I've witnessed with her, and I think that is like some moon in the 12th house stuff as well, but there's just been a lot of, she's had severe mental health and addiction issues, and
Right.
it's been really, really hard to witness. And I love her, and I had to learn, like, I've had to go through some dark night of the soul, like deep therapy, lots of healing work, lots of stuff around not being able to save or fix someone that you love so much that you can't fix them, you can't save them. And
Wow.
you just have to accept your fate. So yeah, it's heavy stuff. It's something that I just don't talk about very often with many people at all, and some people that know me really well know about that, but it's just something that I've been opening up a little bit more the past couple of years about it, but it's yeah,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
heavy stuff.
Yeah, there I feel the moon opposition to Saturn and Uranus. Yeah, with the sun there. Yeah, the new moon opposite Uranus makes me think about how much disturbance there is, how much there's no peace. And also because of the Sag, I feel things being taken like way out of proportion very quickly. And the other part that was very strong for me was, in
Hmm.
fact, the Mercury-Neptune opposition. Given that Mercury
Yeah.
is the Cancer, so this makes me think about the conversation with your mom, right? That is very important and constant, even ongoing now. That's like a big relationship for you. And then for
Hmm.
me, that position with Neptune is like her space, whatever that was. Like her, I guess, psychosis. I'm sorry if that's the wrong word. It just
No, it's the right word. It's the right word. Unfortunately,
And
yeah.
this part also, by the way, is that you're writing scripts for movies, and that you're just a big kind of prolific writer, and you want to write your own screenplays, right? Because Neptune makes me think about the realm of the imagination, also the collective imagination. So the movies like Disney, Marvel, etc. Neptune, yeah.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah, I've written several scripts and I've gotten fellowships and I've pitched them. I've almost sold some and I'm still in that process and I have my latest one underway and I I wrote I wrote constantly growing up. I always wrote stories. I was actually on a very small scale. I was like a published poet at like age 12 and I was always writing, just always writing, always writing.
mhm. What would you write about?
um Well, my like going back, I mean, what do I write about now or what did I mean, so as a kid, my first attempted book when I was 8, I was like, I'm gonna write a book. And that was about this like bewitched ring that this person found that like a child who's like a daughter of a like because I want to be like an archaeologist or something, like finds this bewitched ring in some like and some mystical desert place and has to like come to terms with like the when she puts on the ring there's like seven deadly sins manifest in very like like physical ways. And I was really trying hard to write this as an 8-year-old. I did give up. Like I did not stick with it, but I was like convinced that I was going to write a book at 8. And then when I was like 14, I was riding across the country in a train from like a ghost town in New Mexico to California with my dad. And that's when I got inspired to try to write my second book when I was 14. And that was all about, I was more mature. It was about a young woman who moves to a big city and befriends this like older woman. And there's this like mentor teacher relationship, but like it actually becomes quite, because I'm also queer and I'm bisexual, and it becomes quite like erotic and weird.
Oh, okay.
So I tried to write that when I was like 14 and then gave up. And then I was 18, I moved to New York and I was always writing poetry and I was always writing stuff like that. And I moved to New York and I started working at this place called the Writing Center, and I got a writing mentor, and I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna write short stories. And so I started writing short stories, and I wrote a few. And one of my writing mentors in college was like, hey, like you write like very cinematically, and you write almost like a screenwriter. And I had it in the back of my mind in high school because I was very involved in theater. And had started going to New York City for like workshops and like Broadway workshops. And I was acting a lot and everybody thought I was going to be an actress. And I really, I'm a very good actress, but I just never loved it. Like I just never, I don't really need to be seen or validated like that. I don't know. There's something like I just don't really like acting, but I always was wanting to write the stories. And so I did end up, so I wrote some plays that were like we produced and they were sold out and they were like weird experimental downtown plays in New York. And we did some plays and then I wrote this crazy, wacky, experiential like very avant-garde feature film that I made somehow with all these amazing people in my 20s called Heaven Is Now. I made this crazy film that a lot of people want access to, and I will be doing some kind of archival release of it, but I want to do like some kind of installation. I want to do like an art installation, like archival thing, and I'll release it. But and then so I was always writing, and then like then I was like, okay, then I started to write in like the TV golden age and the streaming golden age. I started to write for TV, and I started to write pilots, and less so like films. So that's kind of like but then I've been returning to poetry a little bit lately, randomly. But and I journal. I've kept a dream journal. I've journaled. I have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of journals. I've journaled since I was a little girl, and I was a very vivid dreamer as a child, and my dad actually encouraged me to start keeping a dream journal and told me about Freud and Jung and taught me about like surrealists like Salvador Dali and other artists like this. And I started like getting books on dream theory and dream psychology when I was like 12, 13, and became very obsessed and started keeping dream journals. And I'm still a vivid dreamer, and I do still dream journal to an extent. So it's a lot of different kinds of writing.
Okay.
And I'm now exploring for the first time in my life, like coming back to the idea of a book, but a memoir. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Several things. First of all, let's start with this. So now that I have like more of a picture of you after like, 45 minutes of talking, I'm really feeling the Sun, Moon, Gemini square the Jupiter, right? Because you're writing all the time, and you're writing all kinds of things, and you're writing experimental, and you're writing in different styles, and you're writing scripts, and you're writing poetry, and you're writing TV shows, and you're writing movies, and you're writing books. So here I feel that part of your life, and especially that you said you didn't really like acting because you don't need to be validated in that way. I felt the 12th house in that you rather just work behind the scenes writing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And the square to Jupiter, I feel like this prolific writer that you are. And also that you're the one to kind of create the plays, and then people are maybe going to adapt your screenwriting, and also that you have this star quality, that people loved you, right? So I feel Jupiter in your 10th very much. Also that you got managerial positions from very early on. Like that's very strong for me. The other part is like the Mercury Neptune. I just hear it everywhere now.
Yeah.
One of the things for me is like keeping a dream journal, right? And like,
I never thought about that Mercury Neptune. Yeah, that's so dream journal.
Exactly, but it's also like writing scripts, because you have to imagine whole storylines that don't actually exist. So you just come up with something. And not only one thing, but many things. And so I feel like because Neptune is in your 7th, now what I'm feeling is that you're frequently relating to characters that don't exist, but they're in your mind and you're going to write about them. But for you, they're like people.
Yes, they're very real. The characters in my world are very real, and I have a very, very fertile imagination, and my brain goes to like movie brain all the time.
Okay.
Like I'll just I'm like, well, like I can like visualize it perfectly. I have like a photographic memory, and I actually do, again, like I do photography in my day-to-day, and so there's this element of like and when I was directing, people would say, oh, like I could set up the shot exactly. I'm like, oh, I see this giant building, and I see these two people dwarfed by the giant building. Like I can see the shots, I can feel it. It is very real to me. And I go very deeply. It's not hard for me. Like I will never run out of ideas. I will never not have I don't really experience writer's block. I experience getting pulled in too many directions, which is very mutable dominant.
Right. Yeah, that makes me think about you developing several scripts at a time. You're writing many things.
Interestingly enough, I do one script at a time, but I've had to go back and rewrite, like if I'm submitting a body of work, or if I'm trying to get I'll be looking to get management, and and going after there are times I have to come back and rewrite, but I actually do write one script at a time, believe it or not. Which is fascinating. But I will say that while I'm writing a script, or I'm communicating, like I've been big on threads lately, and I'm always communicating, and I'm always always writing, like even if I'm writing one script, I'm still like constantly communicating in other ways, like constantly, it's just a constant communication beast. I'm a beast of communication.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes me think about both of your luminaries in Gemini and chart ruling Mercury in the first house, right? The prolific writer. There's one thing that intrigued me. You said that now you're thinking about a memoir. Where'd that come from? Why now?
So I had always thought that, well, I've always had all these stories of things happening to me, and literally, like in high school, I would have friends who'd be like, tell the bear story, tell the kayak story, because I would have these like crazy adventures with my family, and I would have people like who would want to gather around, like very much a storyteller, and so I've always telling stories about my life, and people always want to hear these stories. And then, but I did always think that, like, quite frankly, I never entertained memoir writing as a genre, because I kind of had it in my mind that I had to be a big enough deal or a big enough star or a big enough person in the world that someone would have to care about my life like that, right? Like, so I kind of just didn't think that I just don't think I'm a big enough deal that, oh, who's going to want to read about my memoir? But then I got connected to, so there's been other people in my world that are working on, it just kept coming up. Like I kept meeting people working on memoirs, or kind of as a genre, unless like this is a prominent person who this is their memoir, and more like, hey, I've had this kind of extraordinary life and I've had this extraordinary story to tell and I'm going to tell it. And so I just started to encounter these people in these conversations really the past year. And it's funny, it's kind of been when Jupiter's been going. Yeah, you were gonna say it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
No,
just sort of beat you to it. I do feel like Jupiter has been expanding that, and it's that homecoming. And I went back to Texas during that time, and there was that horrible. So to be honest, what really sparked it, there was that horrible flood that happened in Texas with those children at Camp Mystic. And that's like not far from where I grew up. And I was in a really horrible flood, and it was very scary when I was very young as a little girl. And I've had all these, and it kind of brought up, and it was right when Uranus went into Gemini, and it was right before when Cancer might have moved into, Jupiter might have moved into Cancer by then, or it was about to, but it kind of brought up all of this, just, it stirred up all these memories. And being back in Texas more, and like being there in the day to day, I've been like revisiting a lot of trauma, and like, you know, and like remembering, because I didn't, on the surface of things, people would always thought that I maybe had a happy childhood because I was always happy and smiling, but I had a lot of health issues, my mother's stuff. I had a ton of things that happened to me, and there was sexual abuse and stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was really quite dark in my childhood. And coming back to Texas, it sparked a lot of those memories. And then I met this woman who's like a memoir writing coach online, but then, you know, it got recommended to connect with her. And then I was meeting these people that were actually writing and publishing memoirs. And so it's just sort of been something that feels a bit fated, that's been put in my path. And my dad actually, he can be quite savage about my mother, but because they were married a million years ago, but he's the one that's like, you should write a book. But like, I mean, he said it, but I had already been thinking it, but he was like, you should write something about this, you know? And
okay, this makes me indeed think about Jupiter transiting Cancer, right? The memoir, which is a collection of people's personal experiences and intimate stories about how they lived. Right, so that for me is very Cancer. But because Jupiter has already moved on to Venus in Cancer, actually what that made me think about is that you said you've been in New York for a month, and that a lot of things are shifting for you in that month. And so here I felt like, okay, there's a lot of new people, either that you're meeting or people that you've known before that you're reconnecting with, and there's like this amazing explosion of relationships. That's one thing that comes up. And I was thinking about the flood as well, about the Venus-Jupiter trine, even though they're both benefics, but that's a lot of water. So that made me think about this. I didn't understand the situation. So you said you had a car float away. That made me think about, okay.
my life. Yeah, that's a crazy story. But basically, my single mother and I was 11, and I'll never forget it because it was when Titanic came out. We were actually coming from seeing Titanic. How weird is that?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's so strange. And we were with we hung out with, it was like my single mother and I, and she hung out with this other single mother and her kid. And we were coming from Titanic, and it was like 30 minutes away from home because it was like, anyway, and it was in the middle of January, and there was a really bad storm, as is before cell phones. And we, like the water was backing up. There was a truck, we couldn't go anywhere, and we went into the water was rising really fast. We went into the water, and the car shut down, and my mother was like, you have to get out of the car now, because she knew that you can get trapped. And we got out, but we ended up it was like in the dead of January, and we were like soaking wet, and we had to like hitchhike to like a truck stop, and we like caught a ride with some truckers back
good.
into
That is what I was waiting for, because the middle of January is what? That is like the second and third decan of Capricorn, isn't it? Middle of January,
Yep.
right? That means that at that time, the sun would have been conjunct your Mars and
Yep.
opposing your Venus and Jupiter, right? So think about it, Mars in the 8th house Capricorn, and you have to hitch a ride from the truck stop because Venus in Cancer in the second, your car has floated away in the water.
It's very surreal watching it just like go away. You're like that when we were there, and now it's yeah. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Let's pause there for today.
Gave you a lot.
What did you think about that?
It's interesting. Yeah. It's cool. It's very like I said, it was intriguing for me because I don't do Placidus as much. So it's different house placements. So it's cool. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, just to get a different perspective.
Uh-huh. Okay. I see. Because you usually use whole sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording, and then you and I can talk for a few more minutes, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Signing out.